Thanks for staying with us on Report Desk Africa, the very show that takes you through the African continent from the eyes of the journalists themselves. Now, the Lagos State Public Procurement Agency has issued a statement to clarify the aspects of a state procurement report, following an open letter from Funsho Doherty, the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, the ADC. Now, the reply explained that the agency adheres strictly to the Lagos State Public Procurement Law and ensures that all government transactions are conducted transparently, accurately, and accountably. Well, we have this package by News Central's Ni Omoni, where he analyzes some key points from the government's response in this report. Do take a look.
The government has allocated 440 million naira to procure armored vehicles for the Chief of Staff's office. According to budget officials, this expenditure aligns with current economic realities. During a television interview, the Commissioner for Budget provided further context, explaining that the newly acquired vehicle will be part of the motorcade fleet used to transport visiting dignitaries. However, some questions remain as to what vehicles were used previously for this purpose. The Commissioner for Information in Lagos State confirmed that the governor's vehicle had fulfilled this role until the recent purchase. The purchase of Hyundai and Ashok Falcon buses. The agency explained that the Chief of Staff holds oversight responsibilities across multiple MDAs within the state. Online research indicates the cost of such an armored vehicle is typically between 370 to 420 million naira when including full import duties. While the allocated funds are close to market rates, some argue priorities should be re-evaluated given the nation's 27.3% inflation rate. For perspective, an average ambulance costs 41 to 45 million naira. Therefore, 440 million naira could procure approximately 9 to 10 ambulances needed to serve the public's medical needs. An adjustment was made to supply procurement figures of items such as rechargeable fans, lights, and fridges by the agency. An investigation found the figures were altered from 2 billion naira to 2 million naira at 7:25 p.m. after originally being posted at 4:25 p.m. on November 18th by Mr. Doherty. While authorities claim the 2 billion figure was an error, some question if this alteration would have remained the official record had concerns not been raised. The government has provided reasons for the Imota Rice Mill and Blue Rail Line project huge consultancy fee and the not transitioning into public-private partnership and instead being funded by the state. Officials claim that this allows the projects to start and become self-sustaining over time. An agreement will manage each project for 2 years before transitioning to a full public-private partnership. As for the allocation of 150 million naira and 500 million naira respectively for renovating the Palace of the Oba of Lagos and St. Andrew's Anglican Church in Okekpokpo, it considers these historic sites that should be preserved, saying these are funds to compensate for demolishing sections of their properties during road expansion. Questions remain as to why fund the palace over other monuments or sites. Funds totaling 60 million naira is said to be allocated by officials for outreach and empowerment programs to aid indigent citizens during the economic outbreak.
Well, you just saw the breakdown there from, of course, one of our very own Ni Omoni, who actually decided, of course, did a detailed analysis as regards that revelation given by the governorship candidate of the ADC, that's talking about Funsho Doherty, which some have said is actually a constructive critique, of the spending when it comes to government in Lagos State. Let me also state that this actually also snowballed into other revelations as to how other states or some states in Nigeria are actually using public funds. I mean, that of Abia State came out, where we actually even had a speaker, a representative from the cabinet of Abia State, actually on News Central, who tried to clarify some of the spending there. But one issue is clear. This is not the first time in Nigeria that the cost of governance has been brought to public debate at the federal level, at the state level, and even at the local level. You see hundreds of millions of naira, spent on what many have considered or tagged frivolities, right? Yeah. And it looks like none of this is going unabated, right? I mean, if you look at that breakdown, I wish it could come on the screen. Part of it, money spent on rechargeable lamp, even though the office of the deputy governor clarified and said it was only 2 million naira as against as against the 2 billion.
3 zeros was a mistake.
to buy a rechargeable lamp. Now, I mean, the bottom line is the cost of governance, particularly in Nigeria. I mean, I have a lot to say, Blessed, but I just want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I'm going to allow you because I really do want to hear you. I know that this is your forte, so I want to hear your analysis. But one thing I'm going to say is, again, right, this brings to fore the reason why there's so much contesting and bloodshed and so much, cheating and rigging and altercation and altering of, election results. Because if you are willing to do this, to make that sacrifice, leadership is all about sacrifice, but I think the reverse is the case in Nigeria, because it's more like you're seeing all these things, the monies that they're calling, the monies they're spending, on, like you said, frivolities. And you're like, these things are unnecessary. I mean, we had the yacht issue, we had the car for the president's wife issue, and this is not the first time that it's, someone is bringing, and it's even ludicrous because after like 2-3 weeks, a month max, everyone has forgotten again. And it's like, that is the best weapon on their arsenal, time. Because it's believed that, when we talk about it, they try to defend it here and there. After a while, the issue dies down, another story comes. And it's just so sad.
Yeah, really sad. I mean, just this afternoon before, we came on the show, I was watching an interview by the former First Lady of the United States of America. She was having, it's a recent interview with Oprah Winfrey, And Oprah asked her a question. Life, as former First Lady, what was it like living in the White House? Now, what you would expect is, everything was paid for. And what did she say? She said, the only thing that was paid for while they were at the White House was the rent, which of course the house, it's the government that comes for free, and the staff. Every other thing they had to pay from their personal pocket. Wow. Now, let me blow your mind. She said, at some point she had to start telling her husband, please stop liking things. Because maybe it's fish now. For we in Africa, we have different types of, particularly in Nigeria. Maybe it's catfish. And it's like, oh my God, this catfish tastes so nice. Where is it from? He said, before you know it, they would order like dozens and dozens of catfish.
Wow.
But at the end of the month, they give them a bill.
From their pocket?
From their pocket. Every time they have guests, they pay for everything. That, if it's a party you organized, Mr. President, here's your end of the year bill. So they became conscious that, look, we can't be presidents and leave this place bankrupt, right? And that automatically allowed for some level of accountability. Yeah. Yes, there are some perks that comes with the office, some legit. But I think in the case of Nigeria in particular, which some analysts have said Nigeria has one of the highest, if not the highest cost of governance in the world. A local government chairman has PAs and SAs, and those SAs have aides, and those aides have sub-aides, and before you know,
remember
the list
the
is
video
endless.
Where someone was opening door for the door opener, and
door opener,
and then on and on.
And then it's like a TikTok. It's a TikTok challenge. I'm not the door opener. I'm not the door opener. I'm just the opener of the door, right? So everything looks more like at some point a joke, but there are real issues on ground. And part of those real issues countries like Nigeria face is debt servicing, poverty, education,
and that's why I liked what Nee did in that report, where he kind of broke down the cost.
I wish that breakdown could come up on screen, please.
And then how much an ambulance costs. I've been in Lagos for a while. I've not exactly seen a lot of ambulances, right? So breaking down the cost of the cars they're getting, as opposed to the cost of the ambulances, which is an essential thing,
integral part.
Yeah, so it is just funny how I think the issue we have, well, that's not the major issue, but one of the issues we have is, first of all, there are no systems in place to checkmate these things. It's like the systems that are in place, the systems were put in place by the people who should be checkmated, right? That's one. And then another thing is, we don't have priority. We're swimming in debt. we're literally still borrowing and, looking for, debt palliatives here and there, trying to find foreign direct investments. That's like our own logo now, our motto. That's the new
FDI.
administration's agenda. Every single thing screams foreign direct investment. But what we have is like we're mismanaged. It's just like saying, someone gives a child a sum of money that he's never seen before, and he's like, okay, well, let's just squander it, and I'll go to my neighbor and ask their child.
There's always money.
They feel like there's
that
always
mindset
money.
of there is always,
Yes.
funds, and it's really, really sad. And just to imagine a colossal amount. Now, one question again people have always asked, especially when it comes to transition, of office or transition of power. So a government has done 4 years, has done 8 years, it's about to leave office, and then at the end of the day, this new government has new items in terms of procurement, right? And then the question people are asking is, what happened to the former car? What happened to the former television set? What happened to the former, some even go as far as even picking utensils, and then you ask yourself,
and
this,
furniture decoration.
Furniture decoration and all of that. And it's just absolutely unthinkable. But of course, myself and Blessing will not,
We're not the
be
analysts
alone
on the show.
to dissect this. Joining us is Jimmy Aina, who is also a fellow journalist. Jimmy, thank you so much for making our time to be on the show this very beautiful day.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hello, Jimmy. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, great to see you again, bro.
Great to see you.
Okay, I'm lost, but okay.
So, Jimmy, I'm sure blessings, right? I'm sure you're abreast with everything. Yeah, Lagos State, the spending, the revelation, by, of course, Funsho Dati. Let's start with Lagos State. If at all, we'll extend it to other states like Imo and the rest. But that recent revelation as regards, how much, is spent or the cost of governance. I mean, it's staggering. What's your take?
Well, the thing is that we all know that governance is expensive, no doubt about it. We have to establish that. Yeah, it is. It is because if you look at the kind of system we practice, the kind of democratic system we practice, it is expensive. And it didn't start today. Even during the military government, we know how much was expended for things, But the thing that we want is accountability and transparency. And at this timing point, especially because of what we're going through, the hardship that people are going through at this moment, it's like rubbing it to their faces that, at the government house, we are, having a ball. Let me use that word. We're enjoying, we're having luxury life, so to speak, and we'll continue to do that. I think that's what was hurtful to a lot of Nigerians, because time and time again, the government have asked Nigerians to make sacrifices due to the hardship that came as a result of the removal of subsidy, and of course, the Naira dollar, the unification of the exchange rates anyway. So it felt really, really sad, and people were provoked seeing this kind of amount being disbursed for things for what we can look as frivolous, but to the government, not frivolous, to be honest, Well,
and, if we're being honest, right, let me ask you this. Do you think it is, as you said, the cost of governance is, governance is expensive, but is it really as expensive as they make us to believe? Because it's not even just about rubbing it in the faces of the ordinary Nigerians now. Sometimes these people cannot even defend their purchases. For example, some weeks ago, people were asking, okay, why are we buying so many cars that are so, exorbitant amounts? And we're hearing the reasons like it's bad road, really bad road.
So what's the blame?
The thing is that they don't have an excuse for spending such a huge amount. Definitely due to the fact that, as I mentioned earlier on, governance is expensive. They would definitely take advantage of that, and of course, creep in some expenses that are not needed. And even we don't even know what's going on if some of those monies or those funds are deliberately bloated in order for them to siphon or misappropriate or whatever they can do with such one. But it's something that has been going on for a long period of time. And I think it's because Nigerians, we do not complain that much. Again, sadly, it didn't take for a journalist someone from a journalist, right, or from the broadcast industry, let me put it that way, to discover that spending. It had to do with a former gubernatorial candidate who actually discovered it and put it out there for people to see. So it just tells you how much that even as journalists, sometimes we don't pay attention to that. We go for, I don't know, maybe we'll look at some other news reports as being a much more important one than that, And you can see how it spirals, where every other state now, people, journalists are beginning to unearth some of this spending from state government as it is. So the thing is that they don't have an excuse of spending that amount of money. But because they've been doing it consistently and nobody has been complaining, nobody has raised an eyebrow like that to say, what are you doing with this social money? And what are you doing? And if you look at the response of Lagos State, very arrogant, I would say, arrogant response, especially from the Commissioner for Information, talking about Gbenga Motosho. I saw him on different platforms when he was talking, and I saw his tweet as well. I think that was really, really arrogant. You need to, because one of the things you need to do is to plead with Nigerians. Let them understand why you need to spend this kind of amount on certain things. Not going on air and telling, can Mr. Funshaw Doherty come and become the chairman of? I think that was insulting. And I think, for people, and if you look at it, most of the money being that was budgeted, that we saw from the procurement list, are something that, are from people who we didn't even vote for. I mean, the chief of staff of Sanwo-Olu was said to have. Oh, okay, I'm with you.
No, I mean, if we continue to unearthing this, we might spend the entire day. But we are pressed for time at the moment. But one thing, of course, okay. But one thing, of course, I think I've taken away from all that you said is accountability. The fact that as much as in your words, maybe cost of governance in this part of the world, though, because I know that some other countries, right? Even as a public officer, you pay for where you stay, to sort of lead the people, right? But accountability being very important in this part of the world. Jimmy, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for making
Thanks a lot, Jimmy, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a conversation that if we really want to continue, we would not leave this place today. But anyways, this is still Report Desk Africa. When we come back, we'll take a look at the issue of cholera outbreak in Zimbabwe and what is being done currently to curb the spread. Do stay with us.